Okay, here we go. Number 21, shared interests 1. A context of collaboration meeting both your needs and the needs of others. I got into this when I was at Harvard. The very famous book on negotiating called Getting to Yes by Fisher and Ury. When you address shared interests, you create this context. You know, it's interesting, if we naturally address shared interests, there'd be no wars. The most fascinating thing about this that I discovered as I worked with it into the first few years is that it's a really good way to get your own needs met. And I'll show you how that works in a moment. In our organizing system, here's shared interests. Some years ago, I was talking with a friend, and she mentioned to me that she wasn't getting her needs met in her marriage. And it was an epiphany for me, because I suddenly realized I didn't get my needs met in my first marriage at all. But then when I thought about it, I realized that I never knew I had any. I never was taught to pay attention to them. So you start by knowing what your own needs, values, and interests are. You take and know the needs of others, important others, and you build your shared interest on the gold in the middle. One of my favorite expressions, maybe my very favorite expression, that I would put on the desk of every manager in the country if I could, every manager in the world if I could: people do things for their reasons, not ours. What's fascinating about this, and you may have to think about this for a moment, but when you address shared interests, the reasons are the same. My good friend Jim Odom was my Hubble project manager. I had not seen him for some years. I happened to be in Huntsville for a meeting with the NASA Center Director there, Huntsville, Alabama. I walked into the Marriott, and Jim's sitting there in the lobby. And I said, "Jim, what are you doing?" He said, "Waiting for you." And I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I haven't seen you since many years, and I saw in the Center Director's calendar when I was in his office that you were in town. And I figured you'd stay in the best hotel in town. If I sat down and waited long enough, you'd come by." And what an honor. So we talked about Hubble stories, and he told me about the first meeting he had with the very influential Hubble scientist, a man called the telescope scientist. The first time they met, he walks up to him and says, "Odom, I'm going to make you miserable." That's not just a push in the directing dimension. That's a big red, nasty push. Jim was brilliant. He said, "No, you're not, because we want the same thing." So I want to talk to you about my only 2 rules. 1, avoid power struggles. And 2, never power struggle if you don't have the power. So again, I'm going to use an example. I want you to think about something that you really want, and see if this kind of process would work for you. So some years ago, I'm sitting in my office, I'm thinking about the Hubble servicing mission, and I said, you know, it's just got to work. I mean, if we have a failure with the servicing mission, I don't know what we're going to do. So I thought about all the elements of it, and I thought, well, the optics design, that's probably far easier than the original telescope. System engineering is pretty straightforward. Oh, I don't understand the flight operations. I don't understand how difficult it is for the astronauts to do this work. So I need to get one more person on this team who's an expert in that. I ran an ad and got a guy from industry that I thought would be really good, because we tend to be too inbred, a guy from outside. I went to the head of administration who controlled things like that. She said, "No." Said, "You use any excuse to try and grow your division, and all you're trying to do is get another person and use the leverage of Hubble to do it. So no." Well, I was pretty annoyed. I went back to my office, settled down a bit, and I realized she's actually right, in the sense that that's normally what I would do, but I wasn't doing it this time. So I'm asking myself, what's the status of some of my really important personal side bank accounts? The one with her was heavily overdrawn, and that's why she treated me that way. But the one with our mutual boss was great. We were very good friends. So I decided it's badge on the table time. This is setting up a power struggle, basically. And what you're doing is you're saying, I'm going to tell you what I want. My badge is sitting there. If you don't give me what I want, then you pick up your badge and I'm out of here. I'm not working here anymore. If I get what I want, I'll pick it up and then I'll stay. So I'm reflecting on this, and I'm also clear I do not want to be fired. I want to see the Hubble servicing mission get going. So I thought it's time for a shared interest inquiry. What does he want that I can want for him also? This is the question. Peace with her and the other, a successful servicing mission? Yes, for sure. We both want that very much, but that by itself is not enough to carry the day, because there's lots of people that have other important missions. Peace with Mr. Administration, Mrs. Administration, and the other directors? Well, it took a little time, but yeah, I can want that. Then I thought about the so-called congressional hearings where no one's hearing. And I'm thinking back to what it was like, and it was horrible, because when we were there together, they wanted to ask him the questions. He was the senior official, and I'm whispering in his ear when he didn't know. It was a very embarrassing, very difficult thing. Then I thought about it some more and said, well, you know, if the servicing mission doesn't succeed, would Lynn want to be able to say that he gave me everything I ever asked for and me to answer truthfully? Yeah, I can want that for him, and that would be the truth, because after this person, I don't need anything else from him. What else? Well, if it fails, suppose I hold a press conference and say that I'm accountable for the failure, I take full responsibility for it, and I hereby resign from the federal government to show this. Is that something he would want and I could want for him? Yeah, I could want that. I would do that for Lynn. Then I thought, well, let's got to think about Katie. What does she want that I can want for her also? Well, I know what she wants more than anything else. Power and control over me. We're not going there. No way. If I win this, could she want me to agree not to end run her in the future? Yeah, that's a reasonable price for me to pay for getting what I want. So I want you to see if you can imagine how I walked into his office. I said, Lynn, I'm here to talk about the Hubble servicing hire. He says, I know. And I said, let me tell you the reasons that I want this for both of us. The first thing is I want a servicing mission success more than I want a new car, and I really, really want a new car. I also want for you to be at peace with Katie and your other directors. So here's what I'll say, that if you will give me this one request, I will forevermore accept whatever decision she makes, and she controlled lots of important things like office space and travel money. And I said, Lynn, I would like to have you never, ever have to go to a congressional hearing again. And so what I will do, if the mission fails, I will stand up at a press conference and first tell people that you gave me everything that I ever asked for, and that this failed. It was entirely, I'm the person to be held entirely accountable for it. And I will then tender my resignation from the federal government as evidence. What do you think he said? He said, pick up your badge and get out of here and go back to work. I said, thank you, Lynn. I did so. Okay, next to our big exercise, and we'll pause for here.